Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.
What's up? Welcome to episode 18 of Two Bob's Cast. We're a A to Z rock and metal podcast. We are the Two Bobs. I am Herd, and I'm here once again with my partner, Mr. H. How you doing, Mr. H?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. I survived the hurricane. It louder than life, so I could be back with you guys.
Helene cannot take you down.
She tried, and she took Slayer down. The mighty Slayer.
Yeah, she did.
But she did not take me down. As you can possibly see, everybody, maybe in our right-hand corner, we got a special guest with us today from the Talking Into Infinity podcast, our buddy Brian. What's up, Brian?
Two Bobs and a brain.
Yeah, two Bobs and a brain.
Our brain between the Bobs.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
So how you doing, Brian? Welcome.
I'm doing good, man. I've been excited watching your show. I've watched let's see, one episode so far. I've listened
Nice.
to,
Out of
like,
two, you're 50%. That's good. That's good.
I've
It's
listened
better
to
than everybody else. I got to say
five
that.
or six though. I learn a lot of stuff listening to you guys, and I don't know many things in general, so it's good for me to learn stuff.
Learning stuff is good.
Well, I give all that credit to my partner, Mr. H. He's the researcher.
Oh.
He comes up with all the stuff.
I got to say a quick thank you to Mr. H for hooking me up with those Creator and Testament tickets last night. And
Yeah, how was that show, guys?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah,
You like Old Testament?
Yeah, very good. Creator was. I thought Creator kind of stole the show a little bit. Maybe I liked their background, like their
That was sick.
like those giant evil statues or whatever those
Yeah.
were with the lasers and the smoke and everything. I kind of thought like Testament, they sort of had the same thing going the whole time. But
they did.
Still put on a great show. But yeah, Creator, man, that's a band that comes off, I think, a lot better live than on album, and we talk about that on our show a lot too. Like bands just like, you know, what did we say they were? They were like Slayer if you put Udo from Accept in them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. My buddy said he said something pretty smart today. He said that he thought that that they kind of grew into the singer's voice, kind of like it sounds better now than it did years ago. So I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. So I like them way more than I thought I would, to be honest with you. So I'm not huge into them, but part of the backdrop, the visuals, it was fantastic.
Yeah, they were great.
And they sounded great. Yeah, and Testament was cool too.
How did Chuck Billy sound?
Great. Probably a little too great, like overpowered sometimes.
Cool.
Yeah, that dude's just got one of those like, you know, like he could do the kind of I don't want to say Cookie Monster, but that roar, but it's the clean, deep, like powerful.
Yeah,
It's not just like a brr, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know. He just kind of owns those songs. But awesome show, man. Thanks again.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. All right. Well,
Kelly's happy too that she didn't have to go.
She didn't have to go. Nice. Well, we have brought Brian along here because we today are talking about, I think, one of my favorite for sure, one of Brian's favorite, Bob, maybe yours too.
Mine too. Yep.
Killswitch Engage just has such a special place in the history of my music, and thought it was really cool to have Brian on here, and just so much to talk about with these guys. So we're going to get into it here. Just break it all down, all the albums, like always. And I know we've seen them a ton live between all of us. So
I try to count them. I'll get into it. I try to count how many times I've seen them.
Nice. All right. What you got, Bob?
All right, man.
Self-titled album.
Well, let's go. Killswitch Engage formed in 1999 after the breakups of two bands, Aftershock and Overcast. Bassist Mike D'Antonio and Adam Dukowitz, people who played drums at the time. They started to collaborate. They recruited Joel Strotzel on guitar from Aftershock and found vocalist Jesse Leach from a band called Nothing Stays Gold. He was in that band with Adam's brother Tobias, who owned a record label. So that'll come into play here. And then that was for Aftershock. He was a lead vocalist too. So then they began using the name Killswitch Engage. They recorded a 4-song demo with first original song being Soilborn, and they opened for In Flames. I'm like, how do you get an opening slot for In Flames and your first show? Like, how does that even happen?
It's nuts.
So, yeah, they've sold 4 million albums in the U.S. to date. I counted them up. I've seen them 14 times in Cleveland. I think I've seen them 19 times if you include festivals in different.
Damn.
So I include the festivals here that I saw them at, like Uproar. They were at one, and I think Ozfest. But I tried to count them all up, so it was another bit of research. So then that was 1999. In 2000, I guess they already recorded that demo, and they put out an album, Killswitch Engage, July 4th, 2009 songs, produced by Adam. Apparently, he was doing right from the start, I guess. So I don't know how long he was in bands before, but for Aftershock, but he apparently knows what he's doing. This was on Ferret Records. They got signed to Ferret Records due to the bass player D'Antonio. He did artwork for some of their roster bands, and he also does all of Killswitch Engage's art, which is pretty badass in some cases. He asked if they'd signed his band too, this Ferret Records. The Ferret Records thought metal was dying, and they thought this might be the last metal band they'd ever signed, and agreed to sign him, which I thought was funny. I'm like, really, the last metal band ever, huh? I don't know what they were thinking at the time, but at this time, it was Adam on drums, Jesse Leach on vocals, Strotzel guitar, D'Antonio on bass. This album, there's not enough. It doesn't really. It still has their sound, I guess, but there's not enough clean vocals on here, and not enough hooks for me on this album. I love the riffs, though. The riffs are fantastic right from the start. They remastered this in 2004. It's probably a good thing because it doesn't really sound that good in 2004, the version I heard, but probably sounded even worse before that. My favorites were Temple from the Within, Vita Infra, In the Unblind. I love the galloping riff there. It's also the most future Killswitch sounding song on this album, I think, too, that In the Unblind. Spoken word stuff, pinch harmonic stuff, that the usual Killswitch tricks. I would skip Soilborn. I didn't care for that one. And Numbsick Eyes. Didn't really like either of those. I got this one as a C-. This is bottom of the list for me, number 8. I didn't get into this band until Alive or Just Breathing. And then when I went back to this and found out they had another album, I found that I didn't like this one nearly as much. And it's pretty much still the case. It's still decent, but it's missing a lot of the, clean vocals and hooks. But the framework is there. And I think the songwriting gets better later too. But I got this as an 8. What do you got? Heard?
Well, we'll let Brian go after you.
All right,
we'll
Brian.
let Brian go. What do you think of self-titled number 1, Brian?
Yeah, you brought up an interesting thing that I was going to ask you for sure, because I knew Adam switched from drums to guitar, and I wasn't sure if he played drums on this album, and I think that was probably the biggest thing that took this band over the top was when he did switch to guitar, because there is nobody, to my knowledge, that does all of the tricks like you're saying, knows just when to put them in, knows when to back off, knows when to throw in some stuff, knows when to change the dynamics. And I think it's 99% him and his guitar playing and his writing and producing. But same thing on this one. I think you might have looked at my notes here, because same thing. Temple from Within starts out. It got some. I actually love the riffs. So you got the, like you said, the spoken words. I don't like the vocals, but the chorus is solid enough. Vita Infra, I hate. I got like 4 skippers on here, 2 of which are yours, Soilborn and Numb Sick and Dies. Rusted Embrace, I don't think is very good. You get a little bit of clean vocals as it gets on later.
Yeah.
But I listened to now I've heard both versions, so I listened to the remastered, so that it is a little bit better. I don't know, but yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like In the Unblind, very, very cool song. Sort of gives us some shades of what's coming. It's got that cool, great bouncy harmonic riff. And One Last Sunset. I love all of these little instrumentals, and I'm just going to sound like a broken record, no pun intended.
Dude, same thing. I thought the same thing. I'm like, how many times? I'm like, should I just put them all in my favorites? Like, all of these little guitar instrumentals are fantastic, and they're all like a minute and a half, minute 15. But they're all great.
Yeah, they're all cool. The only annoying thing is they never play them live. They play they always play the like tape of them. Because even when Bob and I went to see Times of Grace, they have like 2 or 3, and I was like, oh, and I was like, wait, they're not even playing that.
No. But I was at that show too. Yep. Same thing.
At least we got to hear it. But yeah, I mean, I think that change from Jesse when he switched over to drums or to guitar, and we'll talk about obviously when we get to the next album. But yeah, you stole pretty much all my thunder. I've got it kind of a no-brainer.
Steal the thunder.
Yeah, pretty sure everyone has it. Probably 8th. I actually do have it as a C- as well. I thought about almost putting a D, but didn't think that was fair because there's enough cool stuff on there. And
and for the time, there wasn't anything out like this then. You know?
Yeah, but I'm with you. You know, you got to get some. Unless those riffs, I could just like hum them till I fall over dead. Like I got to get some clean vocals, you know. And you get a decent amount of guitar riffs in here, but there's too many of just the flat out screaming all the way through. And so yeah, number 8, C-.
All right, yeah, guys, you guys have basically said everything. I'm not going to dwell too much on this one because there's way more to talk about with all the other albums that they have. So definitely agree.
You have it rated?
I have, I have it actually a D+ as 8 as well. You know, it just, for me, this never hit for me. Kind of the same story as you, Mr. H. Like, you know, I fell in love with the next record, and then I went back, and I never hardly listened to it. It just didn't, it doesn't register with me. I don't go back to it. And to be honest with you, the few songs that are on the next record from this fit better to me. Like they fit at the end of the next record. It all goes together like a puzzle a little bit better. So yeah, I'm with you guys. Basically the same favorites and skippers. Yeah, a D+ and 8 overall for me. So that's about it for this one.
Nice. We'll move on to Alive or Just Breathing. This came out not even 2 years later, May 21st, 2002. There's 12 songs on here. 2 of them are re-recorded songs from the first album, Temple from the Within and Vita Infra are both on here also. This was written and recorded. We mentioned this. This was written and recorded for 2 guitars. So Adam switched to guitar, and they thought, well, let's find ourselves a drummer. And apparently Tom Gomez from Aftershock, who was obviously in that band with Adam and D'Antonio, they asked him, and he's like, sure. So he played drums for the tour. Leach left the band via email before the tour due to depression. They quickly found Howard Jones of Blood Has Been Shed, who didn't immediately like the material, but he grew to like it and decided to join. Phil Labonte from All That Remains tried out also and has filled in over the years, remaining pretty close to the band even after not getting that gig. First time seeing them for me was in 2003 at the Agora with Lamb of God, Shadows Fall, Unearth. This was the MTV2 Headbangers Ball Tour. This was my first Killswitch experience and opened me up to similar bands like Lamb of God, Shadows Fall, Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine. Like I don't know if I hadn't gotten into Killswitch if I would have ever gotten into all those bands, but this opened up a whole lot of stuff for not just for me, but for heavy music in general. You know, what these guys were able to accomplish. This album builds on the debut with more spoken word, clean vocals, better songwriting. I love the 2 guitars versus 1. I mean, that was the best decision they ever made. First half is killer. It's just killer. I think I have all 6 songs on here: Numbered Days, Self Revolution, Fixation in the Darkness, probably my favorite Killswitch song. My Last Serenade. I forget that this wasn't even a Howard song. Like it sounds. It works for both of them so well. Life to Lifeless, Just Barely Breathing. I think it's the first 6 songs, and I love all those songs. I don't think I could pick between any of them. Element of One, I like a lot. It's another one that seems like it was written kind of with Howard because it sounds like such a Howard song. Skipper's None, but the re-recorded songs in the debut, I don't think needed to be on here. And to me, those are the 2 weakest songs on this album. So I wouldn't skip them. I even have Temple from the Within as one I liked on the first album. I wouldn't skip them. But if they made this 10 songs, it would have been great. I mean, I actually knocked this album down. I had a struggle trying to decide between 2 and 3 for me. I made this one 3 only because those 2 songs are on here, to be honest. That's really the only reason. I love the direction that they're going in at this point. They should have just left off those 2 songs, but otherwise, I have this as a B+. This is top tier. This is number 3 for me. What you got, Brian?
Sorry, I forget I go on mute here sometimes.
It's all right. All good.
What?
Yeah.
Did you say something?
Yeah. Again, I kind of feel like you're looking at a lot of my notes here. A couple minor disagreements.
Whoa.
Yeah. I can't stand. I got a Life to Lifeless. I don't think is good at all.
Wow.
I will give it a little bit of a. Well, let's just go through real quick here. Numbered Days, killer chorus, love the backing vocals. Self Revolution, that's great chorus breakdown, and then Fixation on the Darkness. I mean, is this one of the most signature riffs in all of metal from the 2000s?
Unreal. Yeah,
it is. It's the quintessential metalcore riff now.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, it's like a master class in all the stuff we love about this band. But but then
Leach's scream over top of it is fantastic. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, and
So
then
good.
I mean, I don't even know what you could say about My Last Serenade. It's just one of those songs that just drives you in. It's very draws you in. It's very hypnotic. Like it's just a great song. Just Barely Breathing, I love. To the Sons of Man, I think is kind of a throwaway. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
They finally they don't even at the very end of the song you get some cleans and a little bit of dynamics, but it takes me all, I'm almost all the way at the end before I get it. Another killer instrumental, Without a Name. I think you brought up Elemental One. That is a great
so
song.
good.
Oh, man, I love Elemental One.
Me too.
I definitely didn't I didn't like Vita Infra, or however you pronounce it. I hated it on the first one.
Yeah.
And a re-recorded version didn't help.
No, it wasn't way better for you.
No, and I don't think the last song is very good either. Rise Inside. I don't know. It's kind of anticlimactic. And what I would have done is put that before Element of One, and then end with that little instrumental. Like that would have been cool, I think. Like just sort of end it like that. But but I got it. Let's see, I'm at number 5, so I actually still got it at a B+ though.
Yeah, so with this band, again, just prefacing, this band is probably one of my most favorite modern bands. So I have a lot more higher tier than I would normally probably have with most bands. But Alive or Just Breathing for me it's a really special album for sure. So I saw them the same year as you, Bob, Mr. H. I saw them at Ozfest on the side stage on the 2003 Ozfest, and they played real early, maybe like noon, just super early. And I honestly never liked anything with screams, like even like bands I like Slayer, things like that. That's different. Like that's not like this. This is death growls with like huge melodies. So the one thing also you guys mentioned Adam. The one thing that you can't take away too from them is, yes, he brought his guitar, and yes, it was a game changer. But how different is it now where he's the second guitarist on stage? The dude on stage is got such a stage presence. It's unreal. It's hilarious. The things that he says are so outlandish and ridiculous, but the dude just absolutely kills it. He sounds phenomenal. But you go to watch to see what crazy stuff he's going to say on stage. He's
got a weird playing style too. He's super tall. It looks funny in his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a nut though, man.
He's
He
crazy.
constantly is running around on stage. Constantly.
So seeing him on that side stage at Ozfest, man, when I went home that night, like that's the band I'm like, man, I have to see what these guys. I got to listen to their records. And this was with Howard Jones, so I didn't get to see Jesse obviously right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, this
is basically right when Howard joined the band. So it was Howard doing all the songs from this record, and the next one hadn't come out yet. And I went home, and this CD did not leave my car, my house for months.
Yes,
this album means so much. You, Mr. H, you mentioned it too. Listing all the bands that have come after that I probably wouldn't have given a chance to, that I may not have loved, all the way till today. Like I just saw Architects this weekend. They wouldn't exist. Bands like you said, Bullet for My Valentine, Trivium, these type of bands. Like this is the first time that I ever heard this kind of music, and I was like, this is awesome. Like it's so heavy, it's crazy. But like, okay, so Numbered Days. You listen to the song for the first like 2 minutes, it's just heavy, awesome guitar riffs, and then it like drops, and then Jesse comes in with the arms raised. It's like goosebumps for me.
So good, I know, right?
So deep.
I mean, it's like it just opened up a whole world. Like you see them, and you're like, "What is this? Is it nuts? What's going on here?"
It's like it was like
good.
It was like a wrinkle in metal that I just never thought I would ever have. It's like
I searched for this stuff. I had a 5-disc changer. I'm telling you, I don't think the CD left that 5-disc changer in like 4 or 5 years. Yeah. I added other Killswitch CDs to that, but that one was one of the 5 that was in there forever. Like I heard this album so many times. From like 2002 to 2007. I didn't listen to anybody even close to as much as I listened to Killswitch Engage. Yeah. Not even close. And that includes Disturbed. They're putting out great stuff, and I'm a huge fan of them. These are all top 5, but I'm not sure I listen to anybody more than Killswitch during these 3 albums here.
100%
oh my
agree.
God. I could not get enough.
And nobody else was listening to it. Like I would try to tell everybody, like, you guys got to check this out.
Like,
oh, it's too heavy. It's
I know.
Like, just wait, wait for the singing. Oh, it's so good. And the one other thing I'll say, because we're about to move away from Jesse for a little bit here, is do you guys notice the difference in the lyrics between when Jesse writes them and when our next guy, Howard, writes them? Howard's an incredible vocalist. He's probably one of the best. His voice is like butter to my ears. We'll talk about that.
Yes, we will.
Gush over Howard. But
yes,
if you look at the lyrics for Howard's albums and you look at it's just such a different night and day thing. Like Jesse's are so like serious and so
dark, introspective.
Like uplifting, sometimes like really kind of sad and depressing, but like he always kind of shows how like I'm rising up from everything. It's like he likes the word rising and things like that. So anyway, I love Jesse's vocals on this. I love his lyrics. I love the riffs. This is a great record. This is an A-tier record for me, and it's not going to be the only A-tier record. There's more than normal for me on this, but this is an A, and it's number 2 overall.
Yeah.
I also
hard. Isn't it hard?
It did. I went back 2 and 3, this and another one, back and forth. Like today, I listened to those 2.
I did the same thing today. I changed it today.
Those
I'm
2 records.
Yep.
So this is number 2 and an A tier. So freaking good.
So good.
It's like it's partial that it's so good. Also, just so many good memories. Yeah. Just what this record means overall.
It was more than a record. This feels like it was a chunk of your life. You know what I mean? Like that's what it feels like.
And Brian,
like, we connected with this so deeply and so much. Just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the part, Brian, because I know Brian really didn't get into him for a few more albums. So I think you kind of missed out on the just the time that it came out, just how different it was, and just it just changed. It changed what I listened to. It like opened me up to so many different things.
Yeah,
like even the heavy stuff like Opeth and stuff I love now. Like I never would have opened to any of that stuff until this. So it's just a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of nostalgia for sure. Definitely takes me back to that time. So I love it. Number 2, A tier. What do you got for the next record?
Real quick though,
Oh,
you
go ahead.
made a good point trying to get people. How do you get people into this band? Because I don't understand how you cannot like. Oh, I can't take the screaming, and I'm like, that's not what this band is about. Like, how
Yeah.
are you missing the screaming? Is like, I don't know, 5%, maybe 10% of like, but it has nothing to do what this band is built on lyrically, spiritually. Did you notice? If you guys noticed in Google, you can look up this band and it says Christian metalcore. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know if you saw. I was going to send Bob a screenshot of it, but I was like, it's. I don't know who labeled it that, but I thought it was interesting. But anyway, it's like, how do you miss everything that is so cool in this band and just focus on? I heard the. Now, if all you heard was the first album and you said, I'm done with it, fine. But
yeah.
How do you miss like? Like this, I don't know, like My Last Serenade. That's just a no-brainer. How could you not like that song? I don't get it.
Right. It amazes me that they never got at least a little bit bigger than they did. Like every time I've seen them has been at the Agora or the House of Blues or, never anywhere that's over like 1,500 people-ish,
Yeah.
So I'm actually surprised that they didn't get bigger, but I don't know, all the better, because it's better for me to see them in places like that than seeing them and that's way up at the top somewhere.
Well, 4 million total albums. I mean, shit, this damn album alone should have 2 million.
Yeah.
It's
right,
like easily. I mean, not to mention what's coming up soon.
Yeah, right. Speaking of, End of Heartache, May 11, 10 days short of 2 years. Man, they were a well-oiled machine at this point, and I don't know how they found a singer that actually may be even better than Jesse Leach, but oh my God, Howard Jones. How does that even happen? As a side note, Justin Foley is now playing drums for Tom Gomez, who left to be a father. So, but that's not the big news. The big news was Howard Jones. I cannot believe they found this dude, and just what he was able to do with Alive or Just Breathing songs, and then just the stuff they wrote here is just iconic. It's so good. This is Adam Dukowitz produced again. First album obviously recorded with Howard and Justin. Andy Sneap mixed this album. Andy Sneap was involved in the last album too, which I think that also helped shape their sound a bit. Our good old friend Andy Sneap,
Judas Priest.
That's right. So Irreversible was on the first album that was re-recorded for this album. Phil Labonte also on vocals on that one too, which I thought was interesting. Andy Sneap was featured on the on the title track, featured on guitar there. The album went gold, and along with the videos for Rose of Sharon and the title track, helped push them kind of into the mainstream as far as the metal world went. I saw him 2 times on this tour in 6 months in Cleveland. I love this album. This picks up right where Alive left off and grows even further. The sound on this album, it is so polished and so amazing. Like if I was even Alive or Just Breathing doesn't sound great. It sounds really good, but it doesn't sound great. This album is 20 years old and it sounds incredible even today. So good. I wore this thing out. I couldn't get enough of it. This is a super polished, like two guitar attack. They're both just playing off each other. It's like I said, it's amazing. It's an amazing album. I had to pick some favorites. Bid Farewell, Take This Oath, Breathe Life. Oh, I love Breathe Life so much. End of Heartache, Wasted Sacrifice. No skippers. I mean, nothing even comes close to being skipped on this album. I'm not a big fan of the Irreversible song. The remake didn't do anything for me. I didn't really like it that much on the first one, but I don't know. I guess I still didn't skip it. So I believe it might be a bonus track. Anyway.
It is, yeah. It wasn't on my version of the album.
12, so yeah, I didn't have to worry about skipping it then.
Yep.
This is total A rating for me, top tier. This is number 1. I can't even believe this is 20 years old. Like it feels like it could have came out like 4 years ago. I will always love this album and the last album. I mean, just ridiculous. That's all I got. Brian, what do you got?
Yeah, this is not bad. It's decent stuff.
It's all right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So this is actually I had to go backwards from where I started to get.
Where
to
did
this
you
album.
start? Do you remember
what
album they were on?
Yeah, so I started on the next album,
Daylight Dies.
Daylight Dies. Yeah, and I was like, So I basically had the same experience, except I didn't know this existed. So, and I didn't know that Jesse existed. I didn't know anything about Killswitch. I'd never heard a single song. I saw this thing on MTV about, oh, Killswitch is finishing an album or something. And so I was like, I literally had not bought any or got into any new bands in forever. So I went out and I bought Shadows Fall, The War Within, which I was like 3 years late on that because it came out in 2004. And I went out and picked up this, and I picked up both of these, and I was like, Shadows Fall. I was like, oh, this is cool, but it's missing something. And I'm like, I wish it was more melodic. And then I put this on, and I'm like, oh, that's what it's missing.
Yeah,
it's missing like some, just some more hooks and just some more sing along and just more dynamics. I mean, that Shadows Fall album is a great album. Don't get me wrong.
it is. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, Bid Farewell, that brutal, ominous beginning. I mean, those speed riffs come in, the descending guitar lines. You're like, and then Howard starts singing. You're like, what the hell is this? I mean, it's just the most powerful, soulful voice, I think, in all of metal, that I've ever honestly even really heard when he gets going.
I agree. He's amazing, man. He's just, I almost can't even come up with words to describe how this dude sounds compared to everybody else.
Oh yeah. And then When Darkness Falls, and the famous introing of this song. Should Bob? Do you want to tell the joke, or should I?
You can. It's from the live DVD that came out with this.
Yeah, it's from the live DVD. Adam D comes out and he's like, "This song is about the time our singer Howard went ice skating. It's called When Darkness Falls." So. Absolutely horrible joke, but absolutely hilarious at the same time. And I'm like, is there ever been a song that you're like so ridiculously metal and over the top, and I just figured I'd totally hate it, but then that chorus comes in.
Yeah,
the chorus comes in, and I'm like, oh my god, this absolutely it sends shivers down my spine. Like, I love the chorus on that song, and I just think it's so cool, and how it goes at the end too, and like, it's the only good thing to come from Freddy versus Jason, right?
yeah, that's
actually
that's
from
true.
that movie. So, I mean, End of Heartache, the title track, probably might. I flip flop back and forth between my favorite song of all time by them, and most of the time that ends up number 1 or 2.
Yeah.
My only kind of minor, I'll call it criticism, is Declaration. I don't think is that great, and I think the first 7, it just boom, boom, boom. But it's like, I think it's pretty hard to keep that pace for 12 songs.
Yeah.
So I think the end kind of tails off a little bit in terms of quality and stuff. But those first 7 to me are just, and I like the last song, and of course another cool instrumental in there. So that gives me at least 8.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I got this fitting nicely in at, I've got it at number 4. I probably could put it anywhere between 2 to 4, to be honest, and I wouldn't argue too much with myself or obviously anybody else that has it number 1. I'm not going to argue that either. But yeah, I mean, what an incredible debut. I mean, how many bands switch singers and like, oh well, this is like better, maybe.
It's like the other guy, but even better. How is that possible?
Yeah, exactly.
How come this guy wasn't originally in the band? Well, why wasn't he already around? Like, what?
Well, yeah, because especially what happens later is, Jesse starts singing a ton, and you're like, oh, we didn't know we could do that, or that was going to happen. But like Howard just, this is just a great album. I mean, I wish, Bob and I have talked about this forever. Like, why don't you guys just do a tour with both singers? Come out and sing 3 songs. Just keep going back and forth, or to come out and do the whole damn
thing together
album. Yeah, or,
they already bring Light the Torch out with them. They've already done that, and then they've had Howard on stage to sing 3 songs with them. Like, why? Like you said, why not just do a whole bunch of them, right?
Yeah. Well, plus they recorded that whole album that Adam produced and wrote the music for with Howard, and we're still waiting for that one.
Yeah, still waiting on that. Yeah.
But
is that like a Times of Grace, but with Howard instead of Jesse, or what? I can't wait to hear it.
It's probably going to be, it could be heavier. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Right.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
I mean, this is
Light the Torch is kind of like Killswitch. It's not nearly as good, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, but great album.
Cool. We got Tyler logged in, commenting, talking about, you don't realize until listening to a lot of their material that there's no filler. I totally agree. You said in the previous comment too, there's just there's not very many skippers. Like, I could count I'm like one hand all the songs that through the whole catalog that I would.
Yeah.
Now later on, I think there's a few more skippers for me than early on, but I was actually going to comment for this one here. Like, I think from the last album to most of the way through the next album, I wouldn't skip anything. Like, just let it play. I probably wouldn't skip anything from the next couple, but just so good. I'm with you guys. I love the end of Heartache. Same kind of spot as Mr. H is on this. It's, I wore out the one before this, and then when this came out, it was like, oh, so I can wear two out. It's like a double CD for me.
Gave me a break from listening to the last album, so then I can listen to both.
Yep, and I did listen to both. Me too. I love every song on this, and a lot of these are my favorite. They still play a lot of them live.
Yeah, they do.
Playing A Bid Farewell live, I get pumped. I love Rose of Sharon. They always play that live.
Oh yeah,
so damn good. End of Heartache is probably the hit where I'm just kind of like, okay, but it's such an amazing song. Probably my favorite single part of any Killswitch Engage song is the riff in the middle of it, the at the very middle of it, where it's just it just gets me going. Such a great song.
We're breaking down parts of songs now.
It's just God. Like I sit, I'm like, I nerd out with this band, so I'll be listening to End of Heartache, and I'm like anticipating 2.5 minutes in where here comes my part. I'm like, oh, I love it. So damn good. I don't have any skippers on this one. This is solid from front to back. I love it all. This is number 1 for me as well. This is A+ tier. The second of 3 albums that are A tier, and I'm not done yet. So A tier album, number 1 for me. These not the first record, but the second and the third are just amazing. Like, wouldn't skip anything. I love every song. This is an amazing band. So great start, Killswitch. I love you guys. That's all I got.
Title track is one of those that you can feel like this huge emotion of like sadness, but like high at the same time. It's like, you know how hard that is to produce like a piece of art like that, like music or a movie. And there's certain movies I'm like that too, and I'm like, oh man, this is really, I got this warm feeling, but I'm also super sad. It's like it's moving me, and a song like that is just so freaking powerful. And it's like, it's supposed to be the end of Heartache. It's supposed to be uplifting, but at the same time, it's also sad because you're reliving all this crap too. And Howard's, him and Jesse are kind of similar. They both sort of, admit to having, issues with mental health and this and that. But yeah, man, that song has just always been so. And I was late to the party on that one. I didn't even know it existed because I'd started later. So
what you have gotten to see, though, I know if you've seen them, is the crowd sing that song. Talk about moving, dude. I don't know that there's a song that any band does where the crowd sings louder than they do on that song. It's just so simple, and it just lends itself to that. And it's incredible every time I see it. Like every time. Not just the first time. Every time I see it, I'm like, this is incredible. Like every time. So that's one of my favorite parts of their shows, even though it's not generally my favorite song, probably just because I've heard it so many times.
Agreed,
but that feeling of when everybody's singing along with that is just incredible. Like Howard doesn't even try to sing, or Jesse now, they don't even try. They just let you sing it. It's incredible.
Yep.
But then man, as Daylight Dies, we got to move on from that one. God, it's so good.
Yep.
As Daylight Dies, November 21st, 2006. So about a year and a half, 2.5. And then 11 songs. This was produced by Adam, again, with guitarist Joel Strotzel. This I need to mention at this point. This is where the Holy Diver came from, which is one of the better covers you'll ever hear of a heavy metal song by anybody. That's incredible too. So I don't know what you guys think of that one, but it was originally recorded for Kerrang as a B-side, and they actually released it as the album's 3rd single, even though it was just kind of recorded for something else. This to me feels like a continuation of Heartache. It doesn't miss a beat. Just more great songs. It's like the machine just kept churning them out. My favorites are This Is Absolution, Arms of Sorrow, My Curse, Reject Yourself. There's no skippers on here for me either. I've mentioned the only 2 skippers I have in their whole catalog, and those are on the first album. So I have no other skippers. There's some that are close. I'm not going to say there aren't, but later on we start blast beating through things, which you'll hear me mention about 27 times. Once we start doing that, then those are songs that, if I'm in a mood, maybe I'll skip them, but not usually. Anyway, I have it as an A-. This is top tier, number 2 for me. This is the one between this one and Alive or Just Breathing, I can go back and forth every 5 minutes and change them. I've changed them I don't know how many times already this week. It's just a great follow-up to an exceptionally good album. I mean, it doesn't quite live up to that one, but I don't know how you can, if that makes sense. So it's just, that one's so good. I don't know how you can put anything greater than that out. I sometimes get songs confused between these two albums also because they are so similar. It's also ridiculously produced. It sounds so polished. It sounds amazing. These last two albums are definitely apex Killswitch for me. This great stuff. Great stuff. What you got, Brian?
Yeah, as previously mentioned, this was my actual intro into Killswitch. I knew nothing about the band. I put it on. Awesome, apocalyptic beginning, brutal and heavy, really cool, harmony guitars. And then there's all these growling vocals, and I'm like, well, okay, this is cool, but and then all of a sudden, hear their cries, and Howard's doing that voice, that super powerful, soulful, gospel-y metal thing, and I'm like, where did this come from? Because I was just I was about to sort of write it off as like, all right, well, this whole album's just going to be this brutal, heavy stuff, maybe with some decent guitars. And man, I was wrong. I mean, yeah, the voice comes in. This is Absolution, Arms of Sorrow, all super great tunes. Sorry, I had to clear my voice there. My Curse, I mean, I had Unbroken as, I'll call it a skipper, only because you don't really get the dynamics and the hooks in that one. It's first world problems, right? I guess we can say here.
Killswitch problems.
Trying to dig to find something wrong.
Yeah, I love the way this album ends, man. I mean, that string of Eye of the Storm and Break the Silence, of those two back to back are just, God, this just freaking great songs. And I don't know, they got the sweet spot of like 3.5 to 4.5 minutes.
Yes, it's no songs that are too long, like anywhere. Yeah. We've talked about that for weeks.
It's very rare. And now, when we get a little bit later, I think sometimes the albums maybe put a little too many songs on them, but it's like,
yeah.
But they've also do this thing where every album comes out with, and then they have bonus tracks. But you did bring up the Dio. I think Bob was the one that turned me on to that video, and the video is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. But man, Howard's vocals and the way they do all the harmony guitars on that, so killer. I mean, it sounded absolutely great on that. I love that cover. But yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite metal albums, and to think that I've really just discovered it, year whatever after it was out or something, and it's only been with me like 17 years, but it feels like I've known it my whole life for some reason. Yep. I don't know. It's just the kind of music I can relate to. And I got it number 2 on my list, and it's got a solid A right next to it.
Yeah, just great stuff. I love this album too. It's crazy. Just the amount of material these guys put out. It's so good. I love everything on this record too. It's just, for these albums, it's just a matter of I guess which one I like a little bit better. So the Daylight Dies, this is Absolution. These are all good. You guys have mentioned all these amazing songs. They're so good. Not really too much more to say. This album I actually bought twice because I bought this when it first came out. It had the 11 songs on it. And then they came out with the special edition, which had Holy Diver and This Fire Burns, which is so damn good. I love that song too. A lot of bonus tracks you don't necessarily get something, but that song is so good. And they every once in a while will play it live, and I just kind of feel like we're getting a gift because it was an add-on to the album and was so good.
We got it the last 2 times, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we got lucky. So was that originally from a movie or?
It's a wrestler from WWF.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah.
CM Punk used it when the first time he was in the WWE. Now he does Cult of Personality, but yeah, he actually came out to This Fire Burns. That's where I originally heard it. Then they put it out for this special edition. I had to get it because I knew the song, and then Holy Diver was phenomenal. So I bought this album twice. It's so good. So here's the funny part.
Hoarder.
Yeah, I kind of am, dude. I have so many. I have like a dresser filled with CDs.
Wow.
It's just, I'll never get rid of all these CDs I have, and my wife probably doesn't love that. But anyway, so this album is number 4 for me. It's my 4th favorite Killswitch album, but it's an A- tier. I have 4 A-tier albums with this band.
What's
so this
the
is
4th one gonna be?
Well, this is 4. This is 4. So 3 is the one that we need to think about. But
the 4th A, yeah, that's
yeah. So,
yeah.
But yeah, this is A-. It's number 4. They have 4 A-tier albums to me. This is like my favorite band, one of my favorite bands, especially for this kind of music. These albums I go back to them all the time. So to me, like there's no skippers. They're A-tier albums for me. So love Daylight Dies. I can't believe it's the 4th best. I'm just sitting and looking at these, but I just love these other 3 more. But all 4 are amazing. So really not much else more to say. These guys are just killing it. They really didn't seem to have an end in sight until, well,
yeah.
What do you got, Mr. H?
So, I don't know, 2.5 years went by for some reason, and things changed. So then we have the second time they have a self-titled album out called Killswitch Engage. Came out June 30th, 2009. 11 songs on here. This is produced by Adam Dukowitz and Brendan O'Brien, which I think had something to do with some of the demise of the sound, the greatness that was those last 2 albums. Production slipped a bit on this one. I even saw that the critics were talking about production, where that's kind of reaching deep, or if it's that glaring that it's that bad. It's just everything sounded so garbled. Like the last 2 albums were so polished and sounded so good. This one almost hurt your ears. Like it was really garbled. But it's the last album with Howard. He left to for some health problems. I think he was having problems with diabetes, but he's had mental health issues too. Like Brian was saying, he's admitted to that. So. But the critics praised his performance from what I read, but they panned the production, and then I was like, yeah, it really doesn't sound very good. But my question here was, where have the hooks gone? Because they're gone. They're just gone. I have 2 favorites on here, but I don't have any skippers, which is an odd place to be, which I've had a couple albums like that during our 18 episodes, but only a couple. It's weird to not really, there's nothing I'd really skipped, but nothing's memorable. Like there's no big hooks in here. There's nothing that grabbed my attention, but none of it's really terrible. So I got this as a C+. This is mid-tier. This is 7 for me, which obviously for Killswitch isn't mid-tier. That's the bottom, but I don't know. Maybe I burned myself out a bit on the last 3 albums. I don't know. That's kind of what I commented in here, but I didn't really like it when it came out. And I didn't really like it much more this time. So I had this as a 7. What did you think of the second self-titled album, which is a rare thing? Brian,
first of all, you let these guys get off the hook too easy just for that.
Too easy, huh? Wow.
I mean, first of all, self-titled is always awful idea, right?
Yep.
The only time you can do it is your first album, and you better have a really cool name for your band. You can't be like, Bill Jones and this is my album, Bill Jones, right? You know what I mean?
That's so true.
Or even a band like the Cars, like they can't call their first album the Cars, right?
Yeah,
Killswitch Engage, okay, it's a cool thing. Or even, I'm from the Dream Theater podcast. If Dream Theater want to call their first album Dream Theater, that's fine.
Yeah,
they did something even dumber. They made it like their 12th album or whatever. But this is just plain laziness. Like you cannot have 2 self-titled albums.
I don't know why they did it. It's not like this is the last album with Jones. It's not like I could almost see doing it again when Howard joins the band. Maybe you think you're so much better now that you just name the next album Killswitch Engage, like you're starting over. But there's no reason to do it now. I don't understand.
Yeah, it just feels like lazy. But I've had an interesting love-hate relationship with this album. And I really have come to find the gems. And Never Again, I think, is one of the greatest all-time opening album tracks. It's so heavy. The guitars before and after the chorus, during the chorus. Starting Over, I love the chorus. The thing about this album is a lot of these songs, especially to the middle and the end, you got to get to the middle until they throw all the cool Killswitch elements in. The dynamics come in there. Howard starts singing behind some clean guitars.
If
but
you can tell, because it's all garbled together.
well,
you didn't think it sounded bad?
I don't think it sounded as bad as you said, but I can kind of understand what you're saying. It's not as polished, but I found going back to this a couple times, and I think I told Bob about this before, because there was a time when I was like, man, I don't think anything on here is good. But you get to the middle of these songs like Light in a Darkened World or Return, that desperate I return to you, with that super cool guitar line, the clean stuff. And it's just like Howard, just his ear candy voice, just sort of wailing there behind those awesome soft, kind of mellower, but they're still dark sounding guitars. I mean, Light in the Darkened
But is it
World,
memorable for you? Like, do those hooks, do you find yourself like humming those 2 days later? I don't. That's why I didn't like this as much.
I think there's about
songs off the other two I couldn't get out of my head. Like, I'm listening to other stuff and I'm still thinking about those songs. This one, that never did that to me, ever.
Well, I think you've got about 3 on here that I think are super memorable, and the others you kind of got to fish around for them, and then when they kind of drag you in, you're like, oh, I kind of forgot about this. But it's
Fair
not the unmemorable like Metallica where you're like, oh, that was great. Wait, what happened again on these last 3 albums?
Which album was that song on? I don't even remember.
Yeah, like you can't even like find the parts that were like super cool. But yeah, I love Reckoning. Like I said, The Return I think is great. I Would Do Anything is good. It's Taking Me Away, Big Time Skipper. Lost is not good. This is Goodbye. I mean, kind
Isn't
of
that weird? Yeah.
Prophetic song, right? That's the last time we hear him singing.
Yeah.
They pack a lot into this one. I think there's some pretty interesting moments in this song too. I don't know. It's one of those albums where I think most people just sort of kind of do what you did, and they sort of write it off. And I think also, maybe we don't need 11 songs. Maybe we could do 8 or 9. Maybe 9 would be good, because you do kind of get worn out. And this is a dark. There's nothing uplifting whatsoever on this one. This is a very dark, dark, depressing kind of an album, and that's okay. But when you get 11 songs of it and you're kind of bashed over the head, but I was kind of surprised. I ended up still giving this I gave it a B, and I put it number 6.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely different than where me and Mr. H stood on this, but. Yeah, I just have a lot of bad memories around this. Like they released it, they had a tour, and I went to the and I know you went too, Bob, but so I show up and I don't even think I realized it, but Howard didn't come out on stage, and it was it was Phil from All That Remains. And I paid for a Killswitch show expecting Howard, and I got Phil Labonte from All That Remains, and there's nothing wrong with Phil. They were killing him at that time. I'm just talking about music. I loved All That Remains' first couple albums there, so that was cool. But it's not Howard, and it's not even close to Howard. They're not the same thing. So I was very disappointed. So that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth. And plus the new record, they only played The Reckoning at that show. They played a lot of old stuff because of, Phil being in the band. So just left a bad taste in my mouth. I've listened to this album here and there. I try to put it on. There are some cool parts. I agree. I like Never Again. I like there's some cool guitar solos in this. That's something they don't have a whole lot of early on, but Never Again has a cool guitar solo. Starting Over is pretty good. Reckoning is good. I like the song Save Me. Save Me is one that sticks with me. I really do like that one a lot too. Overall though, to me, there's just a lot of stuff in between that doesn't really keep me all that interested. It's not a bad album. I enjoyed it, especially going back to it this week, listening to these albums. It's a C for me, but it's same for me as my partner. It's number 7. And I think it's more of just how good all their other stuff is, that this is their quote unquote clunker, other than the self-titled, the first self-titled to me is more like an EP/demo. This is the worst, quote unquote, worst of their stuff that's not really their demo. And it's not bad. It's a C. It's a mid-tier album for me, but yeah, number 7, just a testament to how good everything else is that they put out. That this is the bottom of the barrel for me. So just not enough memorable moments. Not great for me, but it's still pretty good. It's solid.
All right. We move on to Disarm the Descent, which came out April 2nd, 2013. This is a return of Jesse Leach, as I mentioned. Howard left. Adam Dukowitz produced again. If I'm not mistaken, Times of Grace got Adam and Jesse back together, right? Like they kind of got back together and started jamming, and then Times of Grace kind of came out of that, and that kind of led to the whole thing, I believe. Because Times of Grace, I know when we saw him at the Beachland, that was 2011. I saw the other day, so it was 2 years before this came out. So I guess they were already back on speaking terms and still really good friends, and went on a tour together for that, which was fantastic also.
Mm-hmm.
More blast beats than anything previous, according to Justin Foley, the drummer, and I totally agree. This is the beginning of, I don't know what they're doing with the blast beat stuff. This is heavier and faster than their previous material, according to Jesse Leach. I agree with that too. Production is slightly better again than whatever Brandon O'Brien was doing before. My favorites on this one are Beyond the Flames, In Due Time, You Don't Bleed for Me. I love the galloping riff in that one, and the great hook, better clean vocals, No End in Sight, Always. I love the song Always too. That's a great song. The Skippers, I got none. This is mid tier still for me. This is a B. This is 4. I like this one a lot more than the second self-titled one, but I don't like the blast beat stuff. There's more hooks here, which is good, than on the previous album, but I don't like this super thrashy blast beat stuff that they kind of keep doing on the next 2 albums too. Here and there, it's not all the time, but it starts to wear on me a little bit. I'm like, that's not you guys. Like their wheelhouse is that mid-tempo, stuff. I mean, they do the heavy stuff well, but not for whole songs, and not with like super fast drummer. I don't know, but anyway, I got this one 4. What do you have this one, Brian?
There was nobody on the planet that was more scared of this album than me, because I'm like, I finally find this guy Howard. I love his voice, and he's gone, and they're bringing back the guy that I thought sounded like, kind of like ass on the first album, and the second album was like kind of okay. Like I was absolutely terrified. I was super bummed out, and then I heard that, like, you guys probably know the story. He actually basically auditioned to get his job back.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I buy that, but he seems pretty serious in the way that he presented it. Like
I feel like he auditioned, but he already had Adam's vote, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because they had already been doing stuff together. So
that's possible, but he also worked his ass off to turn himself into an absolute ridiculous powerhouse of a singer.
Absolutely.
And he this album to me, I probably put it in my top 10 albums of all time at this point. I think this is one of the greatest metal albums of all time. I mean, there's some blast beat stuff in here, but I don't think it's as much as you're leading on. I mean, the first Hell in Me, Beyond the Flames, New Awakening, In Due Time. I mean, that's a metal anthem for the ages now.
Sure.
They play it every time. Tribute to the Fallen, Turning Point. I mean, the first 7 songs, it's just relentless, and nothing's over 4 minutes. We got a lot of them are barely touch even 3 minutes. My only possible skipper, and it's not even a skipper, is that You Don't Bleed for Me. I'm not that super thrilled with that song, but I mean, the chorus is still good. The Call, I mean, the great cleans over. Now that one has the ridiculous double bass blast beats, but it's got awesome clean vocals over it.
Yeah.
No End in Sight. I mean,
not saying I hate it at all, and I'm not saying there's a lot of it on here. I'm just saying this is the kind of the introduction of it with them. It wasn't there before, and I just didn't like it. That's all.
Yeah, but
I said that if I made it sound like there was a lot, I apologize. I mean to make
it's okay. But No End in Sight. This is when Jesse gets to that very, very top of his range, but he's still going full voice and he's not screaming. There's just something about that I'm not going to say it's better than Howard, but it touches me in a different way, and it like it lends a different type of power to this music. And I mean, and always, I mean, again, that's another one of those, like, Into Heartache. It's so sad, but it kind of gives you this warm feeling too of, like, like you try to think of happy things from a memory, but you have the sad stuff too. It's like, Time Will Not Remain. I don't know if that's a bad song, but I would have. I'm always a stickler for this stuff of, like, song order placement. Let's put that 11, and let's just go ahead and end with Always. Let's just switch those two
yeah, right.
around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Totally
I
agree.
could, I would love to hear them play this whole album in its entirety. I've got it number one. It's not even close to me. I knew all along the second we were doing this, I was going to put this number one. And when this album was coming out, I did not think that I'd even like it. So I've got it as an A+ number one, and just love this album. I don't know how many times I've played it. It's got to be close to 1,000, maybe more. So that's where I am with it.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. It's a good one. I love it. I was also very skeptical. Didn't know really what to expect, even though I loved Alive and Just Breathing. And just wasn't sure. It had been so long, and he quit. And he was kind of a wreck when he left, and he came back, and I mean, my God, it blew me away. This, if you couldn't tell, partner, this is the fourth A tier album.
The
for
fourth
me.
ace.
This one is a number 3. It's so good. I go back to this just like I do those other 3. These 4 albums are gold for me. The 4 that I have is A's. I mean, I can never get sick of any of them. There's no skippers on any of the 4 albums for me. This is such an easy listen. Brian, you suggested this. Every song is relatively short. It's such an easy listen. Like, I'll go to the store and I'll put it on, and I've listened to the first half on the way to the store, second half on the way back. And
you're just going to the corner. It's only 38 minutes.
It's a perfect length of an album. I love it. There's no weak spots for me. I actually agree with Brian. You Don't Bleed for me is the one I'm kind of like, it's not super exciting to me, but it's still good. I'm not skipping it. I just let it play. It's all good. And the Always video, watch that without having wet eyes. It's so deep. It's awesome. I love it. It's awesome when a band like that can make a song where it's deep, it's slower, it's not as heavy. It's great. The vocals sound phenomenal on this. The guitars are still there. I love the heavy songs just from the beginning, in The Hell in Me. Oh, it's so good. It's just amazing. I love these albums. So it's just a joy to talk about them. I love it. So no skippers, like Tyler said, no skippers for sure. Fourth A tier album. I definitely have not had this yet.
No.
And we've Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath. We've covered all these bands. This is the first band for me that's 4 A tier albums. I love it. Yep. Absolutely love it.
The 4 aces.
Yep.
All right. Well, aces are all on the table now. So we move on to Incarnate, which came out 3 years later, 12 songs. Adam produced again. Like I said, he produces every album, either in part or in total. He knows what he's doing. I just feel like that Brendan O'Brien tripped him up on the one, but otherwise it's been fantastic, especially after, even with the second one, but especially after. It took a long time to write this out. He Leach admitted he hit a wall writing lyrics after about three to four songs, and he lost sleep, and he wrote a lot of stuff, but he really couldn't connect with the stuff he was writing, I guess, is how he described it. He wanted to write about current events, but in a way to make people think and not draw conclusions for them, like let them draw their own conclusions, which he was having a hard time doing. So he ended up having to seclude himself and then also deep dive into current issues and events so he could try to frame things in a way which he was trying to remain neutral, I guess, which I give them credit for, because there's too many bands that want to. We talk about this a lot too, and we'll talk about it more, I'm sure, but bands that like to preach to you, that they stand there and they're going to tell you how to vote or tell you who you should believe or what you should believe in and what you shouldn't. Like, just play the songs. That's not why I'm here. And people kind of lose that in albums too, that turns a lot of people off. So I give him credit for really working at that, but he said it caused him problems writing. So The artwork came out of a nightmare that Jesse Leach had, and he described it to D'Antonio, who interpreted it into the album cover art. It was something about just flesh being pulled apart and by a crane and some snakes or something. And that's pretty much what the album cover depicts. And then D'Antonio came up with the album name just by looking at the artwork, and it just the word incarnate just came to mind. So, and they all kind of like that. So I thought it was a little interesting story on how an album gets named, at least in one case. That's something you hear a lot of. This is a bit slower. This is more in the Killswitch Engage pocket, like not as much of the blast beat stuff going on. My favorites on this one are Hate by Design, Cut Me Loose, Strength of Mind, We Carry On. I got no skippers again on this one. This one's a B for me also. This is 5. Again, I got to rate these somehow. I don't even know how to do it. Like Disarm the Descent could be, it's probably not going to be in the top 3 for me, but these other ones, they could all be 4 pretty much, except for the first one. And the second, actually both self-titled albums. You can take the self-titled ones out, and the rest of them could all be 4. So I should have just ranked them that way. But this one I got as B, 5, mid-tier. Just there's not as many memorable songs on here for me as there was on Disarm the Descent. That's why I have that one higher and this one lower. So if that matters, what did you think of this one, Brian?
Yeah, I was. This is another one of those where I was like, okay, how are we going to top what we just did? So, I don't think they topped it, but I thought they really kept it together. Just we got one song that was actually over 5 minutes. Everything else really clocks in low 3. Well, the first song Alone I Stands at 4:30, but yeah, I just think more of the great stuff. There's some more mid-tempo stuff mixed in here. But Alone I Stand, I mean, the way that comes out, it's like it's kind of one of those Jesse's, let's join the metal allegiance or whatever, like just get everyone together, like I don't know, he's just great at that stuff. Hate by Design and Strength of the Mind, they play those almost every time now. I mean, those are just like, I don't know, it's like they've made more metal classics again. Like, how do you keep doing this? Like, how do you keep coming up with these? Cut Me Loose is a good song. I Quiet Distress, shades of Times of Grace on that one, big time, which, that's not a bad thing at all, obviously.
No.
The bonus, so I'm not sure if I had the bonus one for this when I bought it. It must have had, because it did have, I want to mention Loyalty, which is from the Game of Thrones soundtrack. Loyalty, great song. There's a couple others. Triumph Over Tragedy is a good song that's on the bonus too, but We Carry On, I love. The Great Deceit, I love. Ascension, I mean, it just, I don't know. I mean, just all great ones on here. Again, I don't really, It Falls on Me, I think, is the one I had as maybe a bit of a skipper, Until the Day. I think I had those kind of together. I wasn't that thrilled with those necessarily, but then you come back with The Great Deceit and We Carry On and Ascension, and I think it's just, I don't know. It really, I thought, carried on a decent theme and what they had going production-wise and everything. And it's still brutally heavy and catchy enough, and, from Disarm the Descent. So this one, I was kind of surprised doing this. I thought I'd have this farther back, but I ended up settling this one in nicely at 3, and I gave it an A-.
All right. Yeah. It's still kind of tough because when I first got this album, I loved it. I thought it was great right off the bat. It hasn't held up as well for me. I definitely don't come back to it as much as I come back to a lot of these other ones. It's good. I like basically the songs that you guys mentioned. Alone I Stand is good. Hate by Design, Strength of the Mind are awesome. We Carry On are my favorites. To me, I kind of get lost in the middle of it. I come back to it, and that's about where I get lost, about number 6. I think, Brian, you mentioned it. The long 5.5-minute song, of course, called Embrace the Journey. It is definitely a journey. That's kind of where it loses me now. Like, it doesn't hold my attention like it used to. Unfortunately, it has fallen along the wayside a little bit when it comes to all these albums. very strong. Like I said, there's nothing bad in here. There's nothing about it that, I dislike, or it's just when I'm measuring them up against these other amazing albums, this one kind of falls a little bit for me. This is a C plus. It's a 6 for me. Just doesn't quite hold up as much. I don't go back to it. I like the song, the main songs on it, but this isn't a whole album listen for me. This is just kind of picking and choosing what songs I want to hear from it, and then I move on to something else. Every other basically album, except the 2 self-titles up to this point, I'll put on at 1 and I'll just let it play. All good stuff. Just this one, it's just more of a pick and choose, so it kind of falls where it falls. Number 6, C plus. Definitely not a bad album. Not their best for me.
All right, moving on. 3 more years go by. So 6 years they put out these 3 albums. This was Atonement. This came out August 16th, 2019. 11 songs, produced again by Adam. They're on Metal Blade now instead of Roadrunner. I'm not sure I even knew that until I was doing the research. So not that it really makes any difference of the sound or anything, but they were on Roadrunner for a long time. This was recorded over 2 years, I guess, in different places. Jesse Leach needed 3 months of kind of vocal therapy after some scar tissue developed on a vocal cord polyp or something I was reading. So that contributed to the length of recording. And they released a 6-song EP of unreleased material from this album's recording sessions to raise money for charity and donated 100% of it to COVID-19 research and relief. And, I like to call that stuff out when it happens because there's not a lot of bands do that or you ever really hear about it. So when it's out there, I like to make sure that people know. Chuck Billy guest vocals. We just saw Chuck Billy last night on The Crownless King. And old Fred Howard Jones shows up with guest vocals on The Signal Fire. Production's really good on this one. So the blast beats are kind of back again a little bit more than I like. And not all the time, but a little bit more than I like. My favorites are Unleashed, I'm Broken 2, Take Control, I Can't Be the Only One. Skippers, none, I guess, but maybe a couple of the blast beat tracks on a day I'm just not in the mood for them. But I didn't skip any listen to it this time. I still like the whole thing for the most part. So it just kind of grates me down, I guess, after a while. Let's drum as fast as we possibly can. I got this as a B minus. This is number 6, but again, I still like this album. There's really nothing to skip on here. I like the more mid-tempo stuff, but that's just me. That's me all the time, I guess. But even though I like thrash and all that too, but I'm more of a kind of a mid-tempo, chunky guitar kind of guy. So, which usually for me is a great place to be with Killswitch. So, what did you think of Atonement, Brian?
Sort of the opposite of what ended up happening with the second self-title. This one, I upon going back again, I was always sort of on the fence here, and I'm not super thrilled with some of the stuff on here. Unleashed, absolutely amazing opener though. I think that's one of those I talked about before. He's absolutely at the top of his vocal range, singing clean. Those verses just destroying it. I mean, just sonically sounds great. We get Howard for Signal Fire, so that's good. Us Against the World, I don't know. It's sort of drony and doomy. I don't think it really goes anywhere. Crownless King, greatest song Testament never wrote. I mean, it's obvious he wrote it with Chuck Billy in mind, which that's fine.
Right, yep. Exactly. Totally fits Testament though.
Yeah, it's fine. It fits. It's a good song. Mm-hmm. I'm Broken 2. That one had a Times of Grace feel to me.
Yeah.
Sure as the Sun Will Rise. There's kind of a cool breakdown thing they do that's their signature. Know Your Enemy I used to kind of think was a good song, and then now I'm hearing it and I'm like, I don't know. There's really no clean vocals in that one at all, so that kind of suffers. Take Control has some cool vocal moments. Ravenous, that's kind of a throwaway. I Can't Be the Only One. I actually do like the riffs on that one, but I've told Bob before, this is the only song in their entire catalog. except for the first album, this Bite the Hand That Feeds is like, okay, you didn't take 5 minutes to write this, you took 2. There's nothing, the riff isn't, it's so mailed in. It's like the vocal does nothing. It's a horrible song title. I didn't even like when Trent Reznor used the song title. I thought it was awful, but I liked the song, but I didn't like the song title. But yeah, this is like the one misstep in their career. I'm just like, what were you guys like? What were you doing here? It just seems like, and it's almost 5 minutes, which is like the weird part about it.
And you talk about album placement, good place for that song to be, though, being the last track on the album. You're like, okay, I'll just start it over.
Yeah, I never really got into it. So I'm not trying to be harsh on this, one of my favorite bands of all time, but this one just, and it's really hard to stand up to some of these other great albums, and something's got to be whatever. I ended up putting it 7th, and I ended up actually giving it a C+, only because I kind of know more what they're capable of. And I needed like maybe 2 more home runs off of this to get me, in a firm B, possible B+ or whatever. And I just think we're missing, short of sort of the opener and the couple guest tracks. I don't know. The rest of it just, I don't know. So I'm very, very interested to see what this new album is going to sound like, knowing that I've, kind of this one sort of left me wanting more. But so I got it number 7, and it's a C+.
Were you disappointed with the Signal Fire song? Because I kind of was. Like, when I was following Jesse and Howard on Instagram or whatever, and Jesse kept posting pictures about, hey, here, look, my buddy's in the studio with me, blah, blah, when they're working on this song. And I was like, oh my God, this could be the greatest Killswitch Engage song I've ever heard, with both of these guys on there. I was really, I don't know, I set myself up for disappointment, but I was kind of disappointed when that came out. It's all heavy. There's not a whole lot of clean vocals from either one of them. And I was like, man, this could be the biggest epic song. And I was just kind of like, really? Well, that was it? I don't know.
It's hard to even tell what he's doing on some of it too. So
right,
I think I'm kind of like you. I was like, oh, Howard's on this. And then I heard it and I was like, oh, but it's still probably one of the better songs on there. But I think for what they could have done, like, I want to see these 2 powerhouses like trade verses or something. Don't just put them in the background to, do a growl or whatever the hell.
Yeah, that's what Chuck Billy's for. He's down the hall. That's what he's for.
Exactly. But so I'm real excited to see where we're coming.
Me too.
Where we're gonna head. But what do you got, Bob?
Yeah, I guess I like it a little bit more than you guys do. It for me, when it first came out, it was kind of the opposite of Incarnate for me. Incarnate came out, I loved it, and then it kind of wore thin on me. This one I liked less when it came out, but then now I like it a little bit more. I don't know. It's real close with Incarnate for me, but for me it's just a little bit better. I do like Unleashed. I like the Signal Fire a lot. Okay. Crownless King is phenomenal. I love I Am Broken too, and Know Your Enemy. I feel like the strong points are stronger than Incarnate to me. But maybe Incarnate might be a little bit better overall rounded. This one kind of lands in the middle. This one's 5 for me, but I could see it flipping with Incarnate at 6. It's 5, and it's a B- C+. It's just this band's so top heavy. It's just so hard to beat those 4 albums for me. They're just so good from front to back. No skippers. All these other ones, it just kind of feels like they are a little bit of a letdown. I think one of you guys said it. I feel a little let down listening to this, but this is okay. I think the strong points are very strong. When they play live now, they play, I'm Broken too. They play Unleashed, I think, Know Your Enemy. When we seen them last, Brian, I think we saw them open for Lamb of God. They played a few of those songs off of here. So that was cool. I'm excited to see them at Sonic Temple next year, hopefully with some of their new songs from their new record. So yeah, I'm excited about it. Like
I wish they do a 20-year End of Heartache and do a tour. I don't know what they're waiting for.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so that one's number 5, mid-tier, C+, B-. Pretty good catalog overall. Can't complain. Well, what do you got, Mr. H, for your Killswitch rankings from 1 to 8?
Overall ranking: 1, End of Heartache; 2, As Daylight Dies; 3, Alive or Just Breathing. And I really fought over that 2 and 3. Disarm the Descent at 4. So I have the same top 4 that you do, Heard. I'm pretty sure. You have them all as aces. I don't have them quite there, but they're all up there for me too. And then I have Incarnate, Atonement. Those two are kind of interchangeable for me too. I have them both with the same rating. I just had to rank one above the other, I guess. And then the bottom 2 for me are both the self-titles. I didn't like self-title garbage. 7 was the second self-title for me, and 8 was the first debut self-title album. What about you, Brian?
So 2 quick questions. Well, one question here first. So, H, have you heard "Loyalty," the song from the Game of Thrones soundtrack?
No, I have not actually.
Okay.
I have
and then,
not.
Well, I'll wait till Bob does his rankings because I want to pose a quick question after I'm done here. So, all right. So I got I had 2 of your top 4, I think. Or no, maybe 3. So number 1.
At least I don't think I have. Maybe I have. I'm actually not sure now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Anyway,
so I've got Disarm the Descent, number 1. Daylight Dies, 2. That matched H. Incarnate, 3. End of Heartache, 4. Alive and Still Breathing, 5. The second self-titled at 6. Atonement at 7. And the debut self-titled at 8. So my question was going to be, if Loyalty Heard was on the regular mix of Incarnate, would that change your overall ranking a tad? I know it's only one song, but man, it's a damn good song.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, those 2 are so close. Maybe it's hard to tell.
What if Holy Diver was on Daylight Dies? Does that make a difference?
Yeah,
it can't get much better, but I guess that'd be about the only way.
Right. All right, my 1 to 8. Number 1, End of Heartache. Number 2, Alive or Just Breathing. Number 3, Disarm the Descent. Number 4, As Daylight Dies. Number 5, Atonement. Number 6, Incarnate. And number 7, self-titled 2008. And number 8, self-titled 2000. So all pretty close, guys. We like what we like here. So good stuff. Great band. Oh, there's only so many good things you could say. We all love these guys. Great live shows. I don't think we miss them whenever they come by. So
yeah,
just
I think I didn't see them the last time they were through, which was 23. I think I did not see that one. And out of all the Cleveland shows, I think I've missed four of them. I think maybe 3, but they're always great live, and I'd go see them every time.
Is there a band you've seen more than them? You said 19.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Oh, yeah.
Mushroom Head probably, right?
Mushroom Head for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Mushroom Head is well into the hundreds. I mean, I've seen them.
Oh really?
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. But yeah, there's some up there. I mean, I traveled around and saw lots of shows too, going to Pittsburgh if like Ozfest wasn't coming here. Back when I was still doing the festival thing, I know Bob and I always argue about that, Heard and I. But when I was doing that, like I'd go pretty much anywhere. Detroit, Columbus when Columbus had Polaris there, and then Pittsburgh. I've been to Cincinnati for shows, but I don't think it was for an Ozfest, but. Or really anything. Like I've been to Toledo to see shows. I've seen Seven Dust probably close to that many times.
Yeah, I was going to say Seven Dust.
Seven Dust is way up there. Testament also. Testament I might have seen actually more times because they've been around longer. But yeah, Killswitch is definitely up there. So I don't know. I'd have to count all those up. It's hard to even keep track because I've seen some of them so many times. Like I can go through the set list and be like, okay, was I at this one? Like I have to see who were the openers. Like,
yeah, that's what I go by, openers.
Right. So I that's what I did with Killswitch, and I'm like, yep. So then I had to find the festivals that I went to that they were at in different cities. So it was hard to dig all that up. It really is. I've seen some of these bands so many times, but
so
anyway,
I've seen Bob and I have seen them 3 times. And how many other times did you have, Bob?
I couldn't keep count, to be honest.
No. It's up there too, huh?
I wouldn't say it's 19. It's probably like 10, 11, 12, probably.
Okay.
I remember seeing them a couple times on like Ozfest and I think Warped Tour. I seen them one year. They were here at Nautica for Warped Tour. That was That was what
and then they
powered-
came to the Agora. I want to say it was 3 days later or something
Yep.
like that. They
Yep.
were here at the same. They played a full set at that one. They only played 5 songs or something at the Warped Tour.
Yeah.
I did not go to the Warped Tour show, but I did go to the Agora one.
Yeah.
A few days later. But you're going to catch me, I think, with Killswitch because I'm not going to go to festivals, and they always play the festivals.
They do.
So
Yep.
you're going to see them, at least 5-6 more times probably than I'm going to because I'm not going to go to those for the most part. So.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I
Yeah,
can't
they're
get enough. They especially they got enough songs now. They can mix it up with their set list, and they'll throw 1 or 2 every single show where I'm like, yes, like I haven't heard this song in forever. And like I think with Brian, it was that This Fire Burns. I'm like, yeah, they're playing it so damn good. And they sound so good. I mean, there's just only so much you could say about them. I just rave about them. We could stay on for another half hour and just talk about good memories. And
I can talk about times I've seen them that were just fantastic, like with a 5 Finger Death Punch. Like I've seen them at some great shows too. That were like at Nautica. They had like 3 bands or 4 bands, and they were one of them where they played a full set. But then I'm seeing them with Lamb of God. Just good, really, really good stuff. So they didn't always come with great bands. Like there was a couple of those times I'm like, okay, I remember these names, but I remember not really liking these opening bands very much. But there's other times where I'm like, this tour, like I'm going to drive to Toledo to see that one because it's not coming here. I got to go because it's Lamb of God, Machine Head, and Killswitch, like all together. I'm like, what the hell? So, and when I'm into all of them too, like 2006, 2007, somewhere in there.
Yep.
But They're always good. I was so into them. Like I would go see them every time they came here, and then if they came somewhere close, I'd go there too. So it's so good.
So good. Anybody got anything else on Killswitch? I think we pretty much wrapped that up.
I think so.
It's good stuff, man. I want to thank.
Next week? I don't even know actually.
What's that?
What do we got next week?
Oh, next week we got Led Zeppelin.
Okay, that's
right. Got Led Zeppelin. So. Yeah, we got Led Zeppelin, and then after that, we got Lamb of God. So 2 awesome bands coming up. We got our classic, and we have our more modern band, and love both of those bands. So I'm excited to talk about both of those. So, man, Brian, thanks a lot for joining us, dude. This is a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please come back more often.
We would definitely love to have you anytime. So, let us know some bands you want to do with us. You're more than welcome to come on. So
very cool. I enjoyed it, fellas. Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody good? Nothing else to get off your chest tonight?
I don't think so. We talked about our shows. Yeah, we pretty much killed Killswitch with we engaged the Killswitch.
Yep, we sure did. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the Two Bobs Cast. Again, look for us on social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, X. Check
YouTube,
for us on social media and
Tuesday, Wednesday, probably maybe Tuesday next week.
Next Tuesday, next Wednesday, I'm taking my wife to see Dayseeker at the Agora. So
that's right. I forgot about that.
So next Tuesday we will be live doing Led Zeppelin. So we hope to see everybody live. And if not, catch us on demand on YouTube. We really appreciate anybody watching, and leave a comment. Please subscribe. Please let us know what you think. And we will see you in the next one.
Rock on.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.